Can you hear that sound? That's the sound of a two-person race.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Look, let's talk to Ned. Joining me now, Ned Ryun, CEO of American Majority. Okay, Ned, let's fast forward through all the crap here. This is not a two-person race. To be honest, looking back on it now, it never was a two-person race. It never was a three-person race. It's Donald Trump's nomination now. So fast forward through all the other idiocy. What's the end game here for Nikki Haley, Ned? Is this her pitching to be VP? Is she going to sell a book? Why still stay in? Why?
That's a great question, Jesse. I have no real answers for that. This was never a primary. I mean, you're right. This wasn't a 2 or 3 person race or a 4 or 5. This was never really a primary. Donald Trump had this thing wrapped up months and months ago because the Republican base made it very clear who they wanted as their nominee, Donald J. Trump. I think Nikki's hanging in there in hopes that somehow miraculously she pulls something off in New Hampshire and that gives new life to her campaign. You know, quick memo, not going to happen. She's going to get crushed. There was a poll that came out after DeSantis dropped out the other day in which she's now down by 27 points in New Hampshire to Donald Trump. And even if she were to win, Jesse, even if she were to win New Hampshire, she's just staving off the inevitable because on March 5th, Super Tuesday, where I think there's 15, 16 states on the docket that day, she has no infrastructure to be able to compete. It's over at that point. Is she trying to be VP? I certainly hope not. I would hope that Donald Trump realizes we don't want a neocon as vice president. America First has clearly rejected that philosophy. Is she looking for a book deal or MSNBC or CNN? Possibly. I mean, I think it'd be a good fit for her to be a MSNBC or CNN contributor. But there is no end game for her to actually be winning the nomination in 2024 for the Republican Party.
Okay, let's deal with the VP thing right off the bat, Ned. I know you have a lot of friends in the Trump campaign, as do I. I've asked if this is something that's being considered, and I have not once heard a no. I've heard a lot of, well, him and Han, well, maybe, or I don't like her. I've never once heard a no. Now, I understand the VP normally fills in blanks you think you have or tries to get you to build a coalition. Is this something you think they're considering? Because that's a concern for a lot of us.
It is a real concern, Jesse, and I've seen some conservatives on Twitter actually proposing this idea, and I've tried to push back on that as quickly as possible. I think Nikki Haley is completely unacceptable in any position, whether it's VP or a secretary in one of the departments, for Donald Trump. She does not fit the America First agenda on any level. It's a shame she was in the first Trump administration. You know, if you want a female to be a VP, I understand that Kim Reynolds, governor of Iowa, really rubbed Donald Trump the wrong way by endorsing and supporting Ron DeSantis in Iowa. Trump is able to get over Ron DeSantis competing against him. I would hope you would get over Kim Reynolds endorsing Ron DeSantis and potentially pick her, Kim Reynolds, as his vice presidential candidate. Kristi Noem's a non-starter. So I think there's been a lot of discussion about a variety of people. There's only a few acceptable ones, but Nikki Haley's not on that list.
Okay, let's talk about the Trump DeSantis world. And no, I'm not worried about the people who are super emotionally invested in one guy or the other. I know DeSantis jumps out. You're going to have 48 hours of the winners spiking the football and the losers taking their ball and going home. And I don't give a crap about any of that. Right. But those two men individually, are they going to be able to, once the emotions are gone, are they going to merge worlds? Is there, do you believe, real, genuine animosity there between the two men? But where do we sit with all this?
I mean, there is real animosity that was very personal, stemming back from 2018, 2019 between the DeSantis camp and Trump camp, specifically Susie Wiles, who's the campaign manager for Donald Trump and her team. I think there's an ability to get past it. They have to. We have to unite in the face of Joe Biden and the un-American left that's on a rampage in destroying this country. So I hope they can get past it. I think there will be certainly détente. I would hope that Ron DeSantis will be out there barnstorming for Donald Trump and do all that he can to, secure Trump the nomination, which I think is going to happen anyway, but also help him through the general election in November of 2024, because we can't lose, Jesse. I would hope that's so obvious to everybody listening that we cannot stand another 4 years of Joe Biden and the un-American left having political power, importing another 10 million new voters via illegal immigration and everything else that's taking place. We have to win. So I would certainly hope, and really this comes down to Ron DeSantis. I mean, Donald Trump is in the driver's seat. I hope that Ron DeSantis can be magnanimous and say, I'm going to do everything that I can to help Donald Trump get elected, and that he'll actually do it.
Ned, let's talk about something nobody likes to talk about in politics, and that's money. You know, people are famous for saying to me and everyone else, you get the money out of politics, that's what we need, as if that's a thing that can ever happen. Money's in politics. Money matters a lot in politics. It always has, it always will. Democrats not only have a lot of it, they're able to use every dime of theirs towards the general election. Trump, through no fault of his own, does not have that luxury. He's going to have millions and millions and millions of dollars that could have been spent on Joe Biden paying for his lawyers. Where does that put us? Where does it put us behind? Where are we going to fall short? They're not.
Well, we're always going to be a little bit behind the gun in regards to money. Their small dollar donor fundraising is incredible. I would argue I'd really like to know a lot more about Act Blue's, how they're actually getting all of that money. I would question some of their verifying of where that money's coming from. That all to say that's not changing between now and November. So Republicans and conservatives are going to have to step up and fill the gaps. I mean, that's what we're trying to do with American Majority Action, our C4, with our ballot chase program that we plan to do in 4, if not 5, key presidential battleground states. So I think, you know, Donald Trump's going to do the best that he can. I think he'll have enough money to run a very legitimate campaign in the key states, because we all know this comes down to really about 10 states. And I think it's incumbent upon outside organizations to step up and fill the gap and be there to do certain things like absentee ballot chase, like voter registration. You know, Jesse, I know that there are groups that are doing this on the right. They're doing a pretty good job of it. At the same time, this is going to come down to who has a plan in place and can execute the absentee ballot chase program the last 4 to 6 weeks of the election, coming down the home stretch in those key states. Because we know this too, if it's 10 states that are the key states, it's really going to come down to 3 or 4, and it's probably going to come down to 10 or 15,000 votes in each one of those states. So how well can you execute a plan and do it to the best of your ability coming down the home stretch to maximize getting 80+% of Republican absentee ballots in? And I'm fairly optimistic we're going to be able to do that. But again, Jesse, I expect the left to pull all kinds of tricks. They're already trying to make laws even more lax in regards to voting rights, especially in Arizona, for those who aren't even legal citizens in this country. So it's going to be a dogfight, but I look at the numbers and realize we actually have a real shot if we do the right things.
Okay, I'm glad you brought up Arizona, because that actually led me directly into my final question, Ned. These states, we all know which states matter. Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin, Arizona, North Carolina, everyone gets it. What kind of election integrity improvements have been made in these states? Because there are a lot of us who look back at 2020 and we have some serious concerns over what happened there while Donald Trump was president. So while he's a private citizen, we now have twice the concern.
As well we should. I mean, the left never sleeps, especially on this front coming into an election year. I would encourage people to read the article at the Federalist today about how non-citizen voting in Arizona has exploded because of Democrats having the ability to do certain things and making those laws more lax inside of Arizona. That all to say, Jesse, the numbers that exist right now for Republicans in regards to voter registration advantage, permanent absentee ballot, and how many ballots are out there for Republicans right now, we had better win. Let's put it this way. We can win with the numbers that are out right now. Can we win 4 years from now? If this continues on, I have my serious questions about that. So we better win this game this time around and immediately go into using the political power we've been given to change some of these rules to get back to more free and fair elections. The left's not interested in those. They're interested in doing whatever they can to rig a system to gain political power. And so once we get political power, we better use it and use it effectively to make sure that we get back to having free and fair elections that don't allow illegal immigrants to vote in them, that are much more secure in regards to who gets a ballot and who doesn't.